By now, you probably have heard all about the D.C. marijuana decriminalization law, but you might be a little fuzzy on all the details.
And that's not because you're just smoking a bunch of pot.
No.
Well, here to explain it all for us and to give us his professional opinion is Dr. Sanjay Jain, a board-certified physician. Thank you, Dr. Jain, for being here and talking to us about this topic.
It's great to be here.
A lot of doctors may not want to touch this topic with a 10-foot pole.
True.
All right, let's start with a brief overview of the D.C. law. It kicked in mid-July. It now allows you to possess small amounts of marijuana.
1 ounce. So that's all you can really legally or possess. So if you have less than 1 ounce, you're actually okay. If you get caught by police, $25 traffic ticket. Anything over 1 ounce, you can get arrested.
And you can grow
Right.
6 plants or have 6 mature plants, right?
That's what it says, and the problem is that people are actually in Mexico and these other places are upset because in Colorado, where it's legal, the export has gone down in Mexico and some of the drug cartels, so that's actually affected that other industry.
Wow, interesting. And the thing is, you cannot use it, even if you have less than 1 ounce. You cannot use it in public.
No,
So
if you're
no
caught in
standing
the
on
public,
the street corner, you know, anything like
that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
No, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned Colorado, legalizing marijuana, big changes there, and it seems that more states are loosening up their marijuana laws. Why is it so hot of a topic right now?
Well, a lot of it's because of the medical marijuana, the issue, and how the benefits are. So there's a lot of benefits with medical marijuana. So people who are cancer on chemotherapy, they can actually get relief with nausea, vomiting with some marijuana. And there's also some relief in terms of appetite because you get, chemotherapy, you lose appetite, so you actually can boost your appetite. Some other benefits with that could be from people who have glaucoma. You can actually improve your eye pressures with those with glaucoma. And so these are the small little things that actually are found to be helpful. But the flip side is that there's some side effects. So some of the side effects that we're worried about is the loss of memory, short-term memory. And the short-term memory could be a problem. So if you're a student out there thinking, okay, well, I'm going to relax right before the exam, that's not a good idea. So all those parents out there and teachers, it's probably not a good idea. You really want to educate the young people.
Any long-term memory effects?
That hasn't been found, and they're just starting the studies right now. So that hasn't been found, but really the short-term memory effects have definitely been identified.
Well, we're just looking at some plants and some video of the marijuana plants. I guess that's the medical marijuana. Is medical marijuana, are those plants any different from recreational marijuana plants?
Yes. So everybody's familiar with the marijuana plant that's got those leaves, and you see those symbols all the time. Okay, never seen it before. So these medical marijuana plants will look a lot different. They almost look like from a different planet, these little alien-like plant forms. So there's a lot of different varieties of medical marijuana, different species. So when you're comparing it, it's not the exact same marijuana that people think about when recreational marijuana. It's actually different species. So there's a whole different science and different categories of these different species of marijuana.
So what is it about the medical marijuana? What's in the medical marijuana plant different? I guess it's THC was in
well, THC is the active ingredient, and that's the one that gives you that short-term euphoria. And so that's the main ingredient. There are some other ingredients that probably get too scientific, but the THC is the main effect. That's what gets detected in blood and in urine. And so that actually gets activated when it's metabolized by the liver. So that's the thing, that's the substance that lasts in your system for almost a month. So if you're actually getting tested, it'll stay in your system for about a month. So it might have some medical effects, but if you're going for a job, drug testing, and that stays in your system, that might have a negative effect for your job. So we talked about school, how if you're studying for an exam and you want to relax, you probably don't want to take it right before your exam because you're going to forget what you just learned.
Now, I'm curious about this. I know it's decriminalized, it's not legalized, so we need to make that difference. But the actually making it legal, will that enable like the FDA to regulate kind of how much THC is in marijuana, and could it actually benefit?
Well, the problem with the marijuana that's out in the market, you don't know what you're getting. These a lot of different vendors, they don't really have a regulation, so you actually might not get the pure product. So there's going to be some of that coming in. Now, what are the long-term effects? We're going to kind of take a look at Colorado, but Amsterdam, they have these marijuana cafes. Are we going to have a marijuana cafe in D.C.? I don't know. So these are things to think about. What's going to be the effect of legalization of marijuana? And so I think the vote's going to be in November for legalization, so that's something the voters have to think about.
Yeah, I'm interested in that whole screening for job applicants. I mean, if you are able to detect pot in your urine or whatever, I mean, this takes that screening process away. How do you detect for drugs in prospective applicants?
Well, that's a great question, and usually it's a urine test.
We have so many government agencies around here, and you need your clearance and all that. I mean, it becomes challenging.
Well, you have to make that decision, and if you want to get a good job and you're worried about drug testing, then don't take it. I mean, if you have cancer, that's the whole intent of the marijuana, is to help people who really need it. But if you don't really need it, if you got a headache, no, you don't need marijuana. Take your Tylenol. So there's abuse potential with this, just like any other pain medication, Vicodin, morphine. So you got to be really careful, and it kind of goes in that category. So you're right. If your job has those restrictions, it's probably not a good idea to take marijuana.
I think it is really interesting. I know we've got to go really quickly, but you do support the measure, right, to legalize it, just as long as it's not abused.
I support the medical marijuana aspect, especially for people who need it, the people who are on cancer, people who are in pain, who have some of the real physical ailments. But it's still a gray zone, and there's debate. I mean, the doctors are debating, politicians are debating, the law enforcement are debating, we're debating. So there's a lot of going to be issues beyond the voting in November in terms of whether it's going to be good or not. So we'll see what happens.
Lots of pros and cons and still that gray area. Thanks for joining us. Interesting discussion. Dr. Sanjay Jain, board-certified physician practicing in Potomac. Up next here on Let's Talk Live, we're celebrating everything local from the farm. After the break, we're going to tell you more about a festival.